we have a small problem here with the 2007 STI, and I don't want to jump to conclusions and just be like 100% it's the engine, it's the head gasket, this is the problem. I can't keep the car cool. The cooling system is overheating continuously. It'll get up to 208, 209, 210, etc. And it shouldn't be doing that for obvious reasons. Now the car did drive from the shop back to the house just fine, so it kind of leads me to believe that there's an air bubble in the system and not necessarily a head gasket that isn't sealing. It's a brand new OEM MLS head gasket. It should be sealing no problem, and we're just not getting it. So I finally bought a tool that you guys have been yelling at me to buy for so long. This is a pressure tester and a vacuum bleeder for cooling systems. This goes onto the actual radiator or wherever you're trying to burp the car from. This end will go in your bucket with the coolant. So in theory, I haven't read the instructions yet. It's a cooling system test and refill kit. So what we're gonna do is go ahead, drain out all of the coolant in the car into a bucket. We're gonna set it aside, and then we're gonna hook up that pressure tester to our radiator, and we're gonna vacuum test the system. If the system holds pressure, then we know the engine and the head gaskets and all that stuff is okay. One problem that I don't do on this channel, and this is my fault and I'm working on improving it, is I don't test things enough to find out what the problem is. Typically, if there's a problem, I'll go in there and I'll just fix everything that may be wrong. I need to start getting in the habit of diagnosing and fixing specific issues. So this should be a good tool to have in the arsenal if it works properly. I also snagged a new thermostat. So it's a fail-safe from AutoZone. I think it's made in like Israel or something. It's a 170-degree thermostat. The OEM one is 185 degrees. So if it is a thermostat problem, we're gonna get that taken care of today as well too. It was only 10 bucks, so we'll see what happens. Let's get the front bumper off. Let's go ahead and get a bucket under the car, start draining out our coolant. Yep, as soon as I let some air in. Oh, of course it misses the bucket too. Let's let that drain. I don't know, so with the radiator drain, I'm gonna go ahead and pop off and get the old thermostat out. This old thermostat. Try not to make an absolute mess, which of course I always do. So here is our new 170-degree thermostat from AutoZone, which hopefully may work better. It says to attach this guy onto here. So we have our adapter that'll just kind of slide right in like that, and then we just twist this down and it'll like lock in place and create a seal. This guy will end up going in the bucket, but we're not going to do that yet. We're going to attach an air line here and then set it to 90 psi, and then we're going to watch this thing as it pulls out vacuum. It should pull out all the air in the system. We'll let it sit for 2 minutes. If it sits and then it starts to like lose vacuum, that means we have a leak in our cooling system, which could be like head gasket or maybe a line that's not fully attached, something like that. Okay, it's not leaking anymore, dope. I'm gonna let that sit for 2 minutes. Hopefully it holds. Fingers crossed. I got a big bucket of coolant here. So we're gonna stick the clear hose end into the bottom of the bucket, and it should start sucking up coolant and filling up the bucket with coolant. So we're gonna open this guy. So leave it completely submerged. The vacuum hoses are all still collapsed. I think those will like kind of maybe puff back up. Oh yeah, I can see them, they're puffing back up. Turn it on and see if she overheats or not. I can tell it still needs to be topped off, but I think it's, I think for the most part, it's gonna be pretty good. Top it off. The tool seemed to work pretty well. I actually liked it. It did collapse all the radiator hoses down. It sucked all the air out. We put coolant back in it. I topped it off. Let's go ahead, start the car, see what happens. Hopefully, this has worked. Like, fingers crossed. If I gotta rip the engine out, it's really not that big of a deal. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. I'm curious if that thermostat's going to make any difference. So I'm gonna be monitoring coolant temp on the access port. I guess we'll just see what happens. I got the heater core going and everything, so fingers crossed, guys, fingers crossed. We're just gonna let it run and we're gonna watch coolant temp. I've never had this problem. Normally I can get it up. I can't get it up, man. They're stage fright, I'm shy, I'm scared. Thermostat should start to be opening right now. At probably 185, I'll go check it and see if it feels hot. You're at 189 degrees right now, okay? Coming up here, touching the lower hose, it's cold. The lower hose is cold. The car also has a bit of white smoke to it, but not enough that I'd be like, all right, there's coolant getting into the cylinder. Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't smell sweet, but the thermostat won't open. But when I rev it up a bit, it does have like some white smoke, but it still doesn't smell sweet. It smells like fuel. If it's exceeding pressure and there are bubbles like that, pretty confident that we got a head gasket problem, which doesn't make sense because it worked fine driving it around the shop and driving it home. I'm bewildered by this. I'm so confused. And it's just sitting stable like 201 degrees. 199. It's actually going down and the fans aren't even on. But now the lower radiator hose is hot. Is it just purging air out right now? I'm just gonna let it run. The thermostat is open. I'm just gonna see what happens right now. I'm just gonna watch. The fans should kick on at 205 and it should start to go back down. 205. Should be coming down quicker than that though. 203. 201. I've actually never had this. This is the weirdest cooling system situation I've ever had. So I just got off the phone with Josh. He doesn't think it's head gasket. I don't think it's head gasket. He thinks it's a stuck air pocket in the system as well. He said with deleting the upper tanks, it can be a little bit finicky, but it shouldn't give you that much trouble. So I'm gonna let it run through a couple more heat cycles. We're gonna let it cool down. We're gonna try to turn it back on and we're gonna see what happens and see if this stops. Because if it was head gasket, there'd be consistent bubbles in the overflow, which there's not. It just doesn't make sense. We're at 207, 205. So it's maintaining temperature. It's doing what it should be doing. It's been a little while now, probably about 45 minutes. Key this thing on, check our access port to see what our coolant temps are. If they're below 170, we're gonna go ahead and try to start it up and see what happens. I'm hoping oil pressure says 0, which is exactly what it should be right now because it's not running. I'm gonna go to gauges, I wanna see what coolant temps are. 149, so let's see what happens. We're just gonna let it cycle. We're just gonna let it cycle coolant. Hope the thermostat opens. Hope it doesn't overheat. And see if it really was just an air pocket. I mean, it could have just been the worst air pocket I've ever had to deal with. So actually I'm gonna turn on the heat because I'm a little cold in here. All right, come on, daddy-o. 174. Low radiator hose should be hot. It feels warm. I got a bad feeling about this for some reason. You should be coming down. You, please stop, for the love of God. Literally just sitting at 207. I've dealt with a lot of weird Subaru problems before, but this one is just odd. I've never had a cooling system do this. Now it's coming back up, 194. If there's an air pocket in there, it's got to be a reoccurring air pocket, or it's just an air pocket that I can't get out. I've jacked up the front end, I've tried burping it. I've done so many things. I might try to just put the coolant funnel on there and try to burp it again after this. If it doesn't consistently work, it's like it gets to that point and then it's like, nah, we're done. There's no bubbles in the overflow. There's no coolant and oil mixing. It's just like, it's like there's an air pocket just stuck behind the thermostat. I debated taking the thermostat out, drilling a couple holes to let more airflow bypass it, to potentially let more coolant bypass it, to potentially allow more air. We're at 205. Let me see what happens. It's just sitting at 207, and then when I rev it, it drops dramatically. What is this? What the fuck is happening? I'm so confused, dude. I'm just so... Okay, let's put the coolant funnel on it. Let's just see if maybe there's an air bubble in there. Maybe. No weird shit happening in there. Now, I do not advise that you open your radiator when it's hot like I'm about to do. Okay, I heard the pressure come out. We should be good. And we are good. We're gonna try to get this coolant funnel as high as we absolutely can. None of this makes sense. Did I get a clogged radiator from Koyo? Do I have a bad water pump? It's obviously not the thermostat, because I've tried multiple thermostats at this point. It can't be the head gasket because it passed a pressure test. I'm actually confused. I have vacuum bled the system. I have burped it normally. Every time I give it gas, it acts like it's got a bad head gasket because it tries to shoot coolant out. Which also doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. There's not enough cylinder roughness to indicate that coolant is getting into a combustion chamber. I'm gonna give it a couple more attempts, but you guys, at this point, I'm somehow thinking it's a bad head gasket. Thermostat's already open, so it should still work right now. 187. Came up, came down. Now we let it sit and cool down, and if it doesn't work at this point, I gotta pull the motor. There's something wrong with it internally. There has to be. I have burped and bled this thing in so many ways that if this doesn't fix it, motor comes out and rebuild it. Do we put it in a built block? Do I just go rotate it? Do I make all the dumb Subaru problems go away? Yup. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the next day. I'm chalking it up. It's got to be like the most discreet failed head gasket ever. There's no external coolant leaks. I could buy one of those little color changing things that you put on the radiator to see if it'll change color, and if it does and you have a head gasket leak. I don't think that's necessary. Plus no one local has any of them and I don't want to order one. And I'm chalking it up to an intermittent, minute head gasket leak that's just pushing air into the cooling system, and then that air is getting trapped behind the thermostat, not allowing the thermostat to open, which sucks. So that means I have to tear the engine back out of this. I ordered new head gaskets and new head studs a couple days ago. The only thing that I can think of that may be questionable about the engine is I reused the head studs that I took out of the block that I pulled out of this car originally. Now I did check a couple of them to see if they were stretched, and they weren't, but I didn't check them all, which is my fault. So what could have happened with how shoddy the work was on this car when I got it, the last owner could have over torqued the head studs, he could have overheated the car. There's numerous things that could have happened. But I have a feeling he may have stretched the studs, maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them. And that stretch on the studs is not allowing, I mean, that wouldn't really make sense either. I don't know. It could be something as simple as maybe the flatness on one of the heads, or maybe the flatness on the block itself isn't up to spec. It's brand new short block, brand new heads, brand new OEM MLS head gaskets. There isn't really a reason that this should be happening. I'm ruling out the fact that it's the expansion tank because I have had cars, I've had personal cars, and I have had customer cars where I've deleted that expansion tank and this has never been a problem. So the block's gonna come back out of the car. At that point, I mean, I was talking with Josh, I was juggling the idea, go rotate it and all this other stuff. I think I'm just gonna pull it out, put new head studs in it, put new head gaskets in it, call it a day. Hopefully the coolant system works. I did get the IAG external expansion tank that's gonna go right over there, because the problem with this Cosworth manifold is there's nowhere to put an expansion tank on it. So that was the only reason I deleted it. I don't normally delete them unless I absolutely have to. This is one of the times I did have to get rid of it. So I have the EG33 at the shop torn apart right now. You guys will see why in an upcoming video. That car is going to drag, it's going to drag people, and I'm just excited. You guys will see what's coming for that car. So I'm just gonna have this towed back over to the shop. We'll get it in the shop, we'll get it on the lift, we'll rip the engine out. It'll take me a day to fix it, but it's just annoying. You know, having a head gasket problem after 18 miles, it doesn't necessarily play into the Subaru stereotype very well, but it's just annoying because I literally just put this engine in. So we'll get it fixed, we'll get it sorted. I did get some more parts in for the 07, which I'm a little bit excited about. Top shelf and rare parts. Side mirrors, they're like the blue convex ones that give you just more of a viewing angle for the stock ones. Super Hot Boy APR carbon fiber heat shield for the back, because I don't know what the hell the last owners did here, but it's damaged. So this guy should just like slide in there and it'll cover all that up and it looks better. And then brand new windshield wipers. I just got some OEM ones because they were relatively affordable. I've got more stuff coming for the 07 that will make it even more of a hot boy car, because this car is going to replace the 23 WRX when the time comes as one of my daily drivers. So I want to get all the little issues sorted. I want to make it feel like it's my own, and I don't want to have to get in it and just feel like it needs work done to it. So like I said, the engine will come out. We'll get it fixed in a day. I've already ordered the new stuff. Once it gets here, we'll probably just knock it out. So if you guys experience a similar problem, or if you guys have ever seen this issue before and you think it might be something else, by all means, please let me know in the comments, because I myself am curious. But with that, that's all I got for you guys on this one. If you like the video, you know what to do. Go and hit that like button, turn to black, blue, green, yellow, purple, silver, sight, and whatever color it turns for you. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel and you want to be, put it in one of these corners. No idea which one quite yet. But with that, I will catch you guys in the next one. So peace out, homies.